Hi, this is Zach with Worn&Wound. Today I'll be taking a look at the Defakto Akkord Modular. Defakto is a cool German brand that we've been fans of since we started this site. We reviewed a couple of their watches before. The Eins, which is their probably best known watch, which is a single hand automatic. The Detail, which is a quartz single hand watch as well, and a smaller, different case. They have had this watch, the Akkord, for some time. It's a two-handed watch, which was kind of almost like a big change for the brand, and then they always focus on single-handed watches. But it uses the same kind of graphic styling, very bold, geometric, kind of very German look to the dial, minimal but strong at the same time. But yeah, it just uses a second hand, nothing revolutionary, but makes it a bit more functional. If you ever use a one-hand watch, they're a bit tricky to get used to. But now in the last few months, they released this new line, the Modular line, which they do for both the Eins and the Akkord. And what that means is they really have two-tone cases. So there's a steel and PVD version, and then this bronze and PVD version. It's immediately extremely appealing. When I saw photos of it, I knew we had to get our hands on it. Also, as an opportunity to review the Akkord. This one's obviously bronze with a PVD bezel and crown. A very subtle play, but it's really gorgeous. It's German-made at the Pforzheim factories, the Ickler factories in Pforzheim, and it is powered by an ETA 2824-2, sapphire crystal, as you'd expect, and actually comes in quite affordably priced at $700 or around $600 in the steel rather than the bronze. So not only is it gorgeous, but it's actually quite a good value. The case of the Defakto Akkord is a nice medium to slightly large size. It's 42 millimeters in diameter, 51 millimeters lug to lug. It's nice and thin and about 9.5 millimeters tall, which is actually one of the things I really like about this watch, that they engineer it to be thin and comfortable. It has a 20 millimeter lug width here, and a very classic design, all said and done. I mean, you have thin, slender lugs that swoop in. If you've ever seen the Archimedes watches, I mean, there's similarities between these and those. They are made by the same family. You know, this is somewhat reminiscent of the 42 Pilot bronze case, but there are subtle differences, I think. But what obviously is the real star here is the use of materials. So you have the bronze central case, PVD bezel, PVD crown. Not very many people mix materials on watches, and it works so well that I am shocked that it's not something you see more often, especially with the bronze. I think it, if it was all bronze, it would be a little bit less kind of a formal, kind of a interesting design-focused watch, and it'd be more about just the bronze. But here, the warm mix with the black is just really cool, especially on a black strap. It's a really nice mix. The steel version is also cool. Makes it a little bit even colder, a little bit more architectural looking on steel. So I really like it. I also really like that they did the crown in black. It's a great crown. It's very simple, 7.5 millimeters in diameter, about 3 millimeters tall. So it's just really wide and flat, and I think it has a really nice proportion with the case. It's nice and big. It's not screwed down. I mean, you can manually wind this, though it is an automatic if you need to. But I just think, talking about just the scale of things, this is a really well thought out crown. Flipping the watch over, screw down case back. It has a little etching here that I believe is of their new offices in Berlin. They are made in Pforzheim, but they're now headquartered in Berlin. So it's just a nice little piece of art there, made in Germany, obviously. One thing interesting about this, $700, they are making their own cases, which very few brands do. So that is a very compelling price, very good value, and the finishing and all, you can tell this is made by experienced makers. Very sharp lines, just an excellent case. The dial of Defakto Akkord is super simple, clean, well proportioned. There's not that much going on, and I think in being so reduced, it's just a very strong, bold design. A design we've seen before, obviously on the other Defakto watches. They have a theme to them. And then also, on like the Sin 556i, something like that. It's a simple, bold style with just a single index of white markers, larger rectangles at the hour every 5 minutes, smaller rectangles in between for the individual minute, and that's it. There's no shift in proportion. They're all equal. The only thing that really tells you up from down, obviously then the positioning on your wrist, is the Defakto logo at 12, which is also kept nice and small, and the font they use is blocky, so it just has a nice rhythm all around. And I think, you know, it's one of these watches where everything was probably tweaked to the tiniest bit. The lines are probably a little longer, they're probably a little wider, and they chose very wisely. So even though there is a lot of open space, things feel really well proportioned. There's a nice bit of like kind of tension on the dial. And then it's just visually, it's just very attractive. It's very bold. It's easy to read. So, you know, it's just another well executed minimal dial. And what makes the Akkord a bit more interesting then is the hand design, which granted is also super minimal and simple. So you have a long minute hand. It is a white stick. It about matches the width of the larger marker here, so there's a nice rhythm there. And then the hour hand goes a slightly different direction. It's definitely a point of interest, and it's a skeletonized, kind of inverted version of the minute hand. So what you're actually seeing there isn't black paint, it is a cut through. So yeah, I mean, it's just a simple, beautiful, executed design. I don't think it's for everyone, but if you like kind of graphic dials, if you like kind of stark and minimal things, this is a very, very appealing version. On the wrist, the Defakto Akkord wears well. It is a 42mm watch, so it is going to be larger than some people might want, but I think on my 7-inch wrist, it fits well, and the use of bronze and black make it look and feel a little bit smaller, so I don't feel overwhelmed by it. It's also, like I said, nice and thin, so it wears very comfortably. And then looking at this watch, I mean, it's like, it really is like a piece of art on your wrist. The mix of tones and colors, it's very sculptural, though it's very simple. You know, this is one of those kind of museum watches that you're not finding in museum stores because unfortunately they don't know about the brand. You know, it's just like, this is the kind of watch that you want to see appreciated for its kind of graphic sensibility. You know, it doesn't necessarily fall in the normal lines we think of with the watches and the sport watch and everything. It's just a beautiful, stark, modern watch. So great looking on the wrist. Goes well with, I think you can really combine this with just about anything. You know, I have a simple gray Oxford shirt on, but it's so kind of stark, minimal. It'll go with everything, though. I think it does look especially well with kind of toned down colors to make it kind of the highlight. You know, the little bit of warmth you're getting off of the bronze does kind of change things a little bit, makes it a little bit more intriguing perhaps. And then the steel one would be just very stark and minimal, which would be another great look. Comes on a 20mm black calf strap. It is very soft, very supple, comfortable immediately. You know, I think it's the logical strap to come with this watch. You could probably put a brown on here too, which would do something different, but the rhythm of the black strap to the, you know, PVD just works very nicely. My one gripe with this watch, and you know, it is a subtle one, is just that the buckle is matte steel when I think it should be PVD. Obviously that is very, very far from a deal breaker. You could swap in probably any black thumbnail strap. It seems like a slight miss to have just the congruity all the way around. But yeah, ultimately a nice part, you know, a nice package to come with this strap. And once again, $700, so I think it's, you know, a good value. To wrap up, I'm a big fan of this watch. I think it's probably their best watch to date. It's my first experience with the Akkord also, their two-hand watch, and while I love the concept of a one-hand watch being less about telling the time and more about the movement of time, the fact is a two-hand watch is much more practical, and I find it, you know, much more easy to read and use, so I'm going to probably always go towards a two-handed watch. So using the Akkord, you know, I really liked it, and I think two hands also rather than three hands with a second. The two hands still, there's something slower about it, something a little bit more contemplative, which I think the brand is all about. You know, this is it's definitely a bit more towards the side of a conceptual kind of museum graphic, you know, design watch, as I've suggested before, but made with the, you know, abilities of a really serious, very old watch company. So you have beautiful manufacturing, you have a great Swiss movement in there. You know, everything comes together just right. And the mix of materials, I love it. You know, I don't know if everybody can pull it off, but this watch pulls it off perfectly. That doesn't come across as garish, it comes across as kind of industrial, which is just, you know, very cool. So once again, for about $700, this watch can be yours, $600 in steel. Head over to Defakto to check that out. Please read the full review on wornandwound.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. Thank you.